other than I'll say other than the service I work for, I'll talk about anything. I'll talk about failed businesses, I'll talk about erectile dysfunction, I'll talk about my drug use, I'll talk about anything. I'll talk about fucking divorce, injuries, anything. There is nothing I will not talk about.
It's going to be a good podcast.
I feel like it's been very dick heavy the past few weeks, hasn't it?
We've had a lot of cock in there. I'll say on our last episode, one of our last episodes, it's a funny story. I went to Disney on Ice, and I was in the toilets at half time, and there was a few kids knocking on the urinals, and there was a lad with his dad at the end of the kind of urinals, and he was a bit gobby, this kid, and he was gobbing off, and he just suddenly goes quiet and goes, "Dad, why is his bigger than yours?" And the whole urinals went silent. That's like laughing. Oh, I should have. But he just went silent and said nothing. That made it even worse.
There's something about the beautiful innocence of children that say stuff like that, and I hate that we lose that. I mean, not pointing out the dicks and stuff like that necessarily, but when your kid, says, "Oh, Daddy, why does that person look different to me?" Or "Why does that person sound weird?" Or "That person's got a birthmark on their face." Do you know what I mean? We have this thing where we get older and we have this professionalism thing. We think that we should sound a certain way, and it becomes so inauthentic. And it's been my biggest challenge with like the fire and rescue service and kind of the success of the podcast is because people just want to hear real people. They don't want to hear the professional, the cut, the clean, the corporatized BS, because that's not what people are. And it loses that connection. People can't. I always say, like, if you were just like this shining steel glass, there's no hooks for people to get into. There's no relatability. So when I talk to clients, or when I talk to other people about divorce, setbacks, injuries, challenges, mental health, my drug addictions, all that sort of stuff, it gives you a little bit of, it's the difference between empathy and sympathy. People can't say, "Oh, you know exactly what I'm going through," but they can say, "Oh, that sounds a bit like a similar situation," because if you just seem like you're this perfect professional, then how the fuck is that relatable to anybody? Because we're not, and they're not. And we have this certainly as coaches and trainers as well, where they think, "Oh, you're the god of all knowledge, you must have done everything perfect." You're like, "No, I'm a walking fucking bin fire." Do you know what I mean? My life is all over the place. I know a little bit about these areas that I've had success in, and it's the difference between coaching and mentoring as well, isn't it? Like, mentoring, I think, is a very, very different thing. People use the words interchangeably, I think, because they don't fully understand what they mean. Mentoring is, I know how to make good coffee, I could show you how to make coffee. But coaching, I don't have to know how to do the thing you do. Coaching is about an exploratory conversation to help you achieve the goal that you want to achieve. Whereas mentoring is, I can show you exactly what I've done if you want to walk that same path. So like in business, or in like the fire service, or in a corporate structure, you would have a mentor if you wanted to get onto the senior leadership team. You'll say, "Well, these are the political milestones, these are the courses I've done if you want to achieve exactly the same thing that I have done." But coaching, certainly in business coaching, is different, because I don't need to have to know how to run a media company to be able to help you build your media company, but I need to know about interpersonal relationships. I need to know about assets and capital investments and how to structure things, because cash flow is the biggest thing that always kills companies. So those things are generic that you could coach somebody with. Same with fitness. I don't need to be a top level sprinter to help you sprint. It's like the idea that if you can't, those who can't do teach. Like some of the best football coaches and managers out there are people that were never necessarily a great professional themselves. Because also, just because someone can do it very well doesn't mean they can show you how to do it very well. It's a little bit like tying your shoelaces. You've got to deconstruct the thing to teach your daughter how to do it. Because otherwise you just go, "Well, there it is, then I just do it." And I can do it for you if you like. How do you teach me how to do it? And I always have this with firefighting. It's like, knots and lines is one of the most basic things we do. But if you've only ever tied a knot this certain way with your right hand, and you get a student that's left-handed, and they go, "Oh, no, I need to do it," and if you've not got 7 ways to show them, then you can't be a good teacher, because all I can do is show you the way that I did it. But you've got a different neurodiversity, you've got a different setup to you, so you need to have a different way of learning than me. And that's where I think a coach can be really, really valuable, if they have lots of ways to explain it.
I call it having tools in the toolbox, because you're absolutely right. A coffee, generally, there's not many ways to do it. Like, you can make fancy ones, you can make pictures in them, but generally a coffee's a coffee, right? Yeah. Every single human being is different. Every single person has so many different biological prerequisites when they come onto someone's program. And this is the issue with online coaching to a certain degree. You're going to get guys who look awesome and you want to look like them. And for the average Joe, going onto their program is like, right, I want to look like that person. But that person's may have no idea what's going on with your body. They might not be an experienced coach. And this is why I think in the coaching world, experience matters like nothing else. And
coaching is the Wild West. There's a guy in Firefighter Challenge stuff. Bless him, he's a lovely bloke, really like him. Not going to say where he's from or anything like that, but he put a post out recently. He's in his 40s, and he showed some photos. He's been on a lot of magazine covers, and there's photos of him from when he was like 19, amazing shape, 20, amazing shape, 30, amazing shape, 40, amazing shape, and he's like, he was pitching it as great transformation coaching, and I went, you mean you were born a fit bloke? You've always been. Oh, you won the genetic lottery. That's what you won. Yep. You couldn't help this woman who's just had a baby get back in shape because you've never been out of shape. You won the genetic lottery, and that's the problem with, and you guys will know it when you coach in a lot of PTs in their early 20s, they're in a 6-week course, I've got my level 3, and they've always been a fit person. So you don't really know how to get someone from step 1 to step 20 because you started at step 11. Do you know what I mean? You've never been unfit. From a child, you've always been fit, and that sounds romantic if someone goes, oh, you've always been into fitness, tell me the tricks, tell me that. You don't know how to get out of the fucking hole because you've never been in a hole. You've always been fit. And I always think of someone that's never had a big injury or never had a big setback. It's like, how are you going to help someone get from there because you've never been there? Do you know what I mean? Like, helping someone is saying from where you are to where you want to be. But unless I can come to where you are, then I can't help you get through the conceptual steps to get. Like, I think about this for firefighting. If I start by talking to you about physics, because we're going to do, fluid dynamics and we're talking about pumping or something like that. If I say to you, oh, you know how a pitot tube works on an airplane, and you go, fucking no. Okay. Well, like the Bernoulli equation and pressure and flow. No, right. Do you know water is wet? Yeah. Let's start with water is wet, because I've got to find you where you are and then take you from where you are to where you want to be. But for most people coming into coaching, we have this thing where we like the verbal masturbation, and we like to overcomplex it because we want to prove that we're worth the money, aren't we? So we're like, let me tell you all these big fucking important words about, DNA and how the blooming, NEAT and non-exercise thermogenics and all that sort of bollocks, because we want to justify our time. But we were talking about it before we started recording about bringing something right back to the simplicity of movement and energy and calories and the size of your engine and how much you're going to burn and the best ways to burn it and all that sort of stuff. Because if you don't start where someone is, it's like trying to reach through fog and say, turn left, and they're like, well, where the fuck are you? Where do you want me to be going? And they don't really know the steps to get to where they're trying to get to. You know what I mean? They have the enthusiasm and the motivation, but you're not really helping them starting at step 11. You need to come right back to step 2. Because most people, they talk about like, oh, do I need another 4 grams of protein? Or, I looked at Usain Bolt, and he says he takes 3 grams of creatine in the morning, and then he does it. Or, Arnold Schwarzenegger said he used to do this, right? You're talking about step 72, yeah? Are you drinking 3 litres of water today? Are you getting 8 hours of sleep? And they're like, no. I want to talk about the latest fat loss drug. I want to talk about Ozempic. And they're like, fuck Ozempic. Yeah. Come back to water and sleep. Yeah. And then we'll go forwards. Because otherwise you're building your house on sand, aren't you? You haven't got the foundations in place.
Brad's really good at that. Brad's always got this mantra of meet someone where they're at, and it's been kind of something he's mentioned on our podcast a lot. And it's about knowing your demographic. Like, who are you trying to sell to? Who are you trying to help? Because if you are trying to help the average Joe, you can know all the books in the world, but those words mean nothing to them. No. If you're trying to coach high-level athletes and bodybuilders who know all the basics, they want that extra level of advanced coaching, then maybe come out with some of the fancier terms, things that they understand. You're absolutely right. Meet them where they're at. And coming back to what you were saying before about the wild, wild west of coaching, we know a lot of people who've hired a coach, done a 12-week transformation, have learned one way of dieting from one person. Now I'm an online coach. I'm in great shape. I know how to do it. Who wants to buy the services? And all they'll do is just sell what that coach has taught them onto the people. And there's a filtration system going down now. And
I'm going to sheep dip everyone in my program.
And don't get me wrong, it's great to learn from the coaches for sure. And I think to a certain degree, I also can't hate, because I kind of faked it until I made it when I first started. Yeah, exactly. So I don't begrudge that at all. And it's not me throwing shade. I just think it is becoming a little bit Wild West, and I do hear a lot of people come in. Well, I do know a lot of people coming to me, and they'll have these stories about bad situations with coaches and lack of customer service and not really caring. And that's what's built the foundations of my business, your business. I'm sure your businesses as well in the past with coaching. It's that care and attention to detail and understanding the person and really having those tools in the toolbox. So when things don't go right, they can go, oh, wow, this person really gets me. And the best people we've helped, you'll know, of when you've probably been around the ringer a little bit with them, but they really appreciate the fact that you've gone out and you've researched and things that you don't specifically know. You've been off your own back.
You bespoke it for them.
Exactly right.
You're not trying to push this template on them.
Yeah.
You do have a natural calmness about you. I'm picking up already. I love that. You're such a better listener. My ADHD brain is fucking terrible. And I'm always worse when I'm on other people's podcasts because I'm just a fucking shiny kid grabbing at everything that's out there. But that element about specificity and having I ran out of patience, to be honest with you. Like when you start coaching anybody, you say, I'll coach everybody. I can help anybody. But I realised towards the end of when I had the second gym, so I had one gym where I had 10 coaches working, and they would do we had a company called Blood, Sweat and Tyres. We did a lot of the tough mudder stuff like everyone's done. You get a park, you get a load of tyres, a load of kettlebells, and let's just do some military fucking boot camp thing. And then we had the legs, mums and toms, and we had all those little sessions. But I didn't want to work with the general public anymore. Not because you're better than anyone, but there's almost an elitism, and I don't know if you guys share it as well, where you're like, I don't really need motivating because it comes from a personal identity and a sense of purpose of I am a fit, healthy person. So I'm always going, even though I've had, torn my pec off, snapped my patella tendon, prolapsed disc in my back, all of that, I'm always going to get back to my default. And I'll always say to people, this is why the story you tell yourself is the most important one, because you'll always get back to your own identity. If you think you are a fat, lazy piece of crap, then that is your default. And you're always trying to do something to deviate from it. So no matter how you do this, I'm going to do a 12-week transformation, like you said, you'll always go back to what you believe you are. So if you believe you're not worth it, if you've got a really low relationship with yourself, you hold yourself to a low set of standards, then you're always going to get back to that because you'll always go back to your default. You'll always go back to your identity, but you've got to change that. I always say, like when I used to work with smokers as well, I'm a recovered addict. And when I worked with AA initially, and then I went on to Narcotics Anonymous as me because I was never a drinker or anything like that. But you need to get right down and change your blueprint. Because when you talk to people about smoking, if they can tell you the last time they had a cigarette, it probably suggests they're always going to be a smoker.
Because they can identify.
Yeah, because they're actually just counting the days so they can say, dude, I've not drank in 97 days. I'm 7 years sober or whatever. But if I was smoking yesterday and I haven't had a cigarette today, then for all intents and purposes, I'm not a smoker because I'm not smoking. I haven't smoked today. People say, that's bullshit, Pete. You were smoking yesterday. Yes, but at some point you've got to draw the line and say, this is my new identity. If you're someone that says, I am Pete and I am giving up smoking, then you're saying that I'm still a smoker and I'm trying to deviate from this. If you said, I'm a really fat person that's unhealthy and I'm trying to get fit at the minute because I want to go on holiday or because I want the beach bod or whatever like that, you're always going to fall back to that default. But if you say, I'm a fit and healthy person who just got lost about 8 years ago and now I'm out of shape, that is also true. That's also true, but it's all about reframing. I always talk about position versus disposition. Like where you are, it is where you are, that's the reality of today. But how you feel about where you are is entirely different. If you say, I'm worthless, I'm not worth love, I'm not worth being fit, strong, I'm not worth being successful, then that is where you will continually gravitate back to. But if you say, I am a high-performing individual, I'm worth loving, I'm worth being in shape, I'm worth listening to, I'm worth spending time with, then you'll say, I've just got lost along the way. Like with divorces that I've had, miscarriages, drug addictions, missed out on promotions, sacked from jobs, failed businesses, successful businesses. But if I say, no, I truly believe it. I mean, you've got to have some validity to back it up as well. You've got to have people in your world and evidence that you can lean on that says you are a good person. If you've stolen a bunch of money and you've, done over these partners or whatever, then you're going to struggle to fall asleep at night telling yourself the BS that you're actually a good person. But if you have an undeniable stack of proof that you are who you say you are through these constant layers of experience with other people, then you are speaking from a position of authenticity. And when it comes to your personal well-being and your fitness, if you know that, once we were all a kid that absolutely loved ourselves, you've both got young kids?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What are they like when they look in the mirror?
Oh, they're very self-absoeged.
Self-absorbed. They love themselves. They kiss in the mirror. When do we stop doing that? When do we start going, ego and pride and, it's ugly loving yourself and all this sort of stuff? Why is it? Why should you not be your number one fan? I think you should, because if you're not your own number one fan, who the fuck is going to be?
I think it's hard being northern in that regard.
I think it's hard being British.
Yeah. There is
I think we have this self-deprecating thing
100%.
where we're like the tall poppy syndrome. It's like, fucking hell, were you bigging yourself up all the time? Get over yourself. If you came into the room today and you said, Pete, I've just crushed it. I've just taken on a 15 grand a month client or something like that. Yeah. Personally, for me, I'd be fucking bro, high five, give us a hug. That's incredible. But if for some people you came and go, I've just got a race, and they're like, fucking nice to be you, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, it's all right where you are.
You can get next meal if you want.
Why is that?
We do have that thing where when we see other people achieving things as British people, we also go, oh, well, aren't you great? Do you know what I mean? Like, whereas it's actually Mickey Flanagan who has a fantastic bit about this, where he goes to America and he lives over there for a while, finds some American friends, and they go to a diner. And they're all laughing and joking, and then suddenly a guy walks in, and he's very clearly got a toupee on.
Yeah.
And Mickey nudges him and goes, hey, look over here. Got a toupee over here, And then everyone just goes, excuse me, that man is having some issues with his hair, and he's doing positive things to try and counteract that. I'll have less of that. And Mickey's like, shut up, look at bloody baldy over here, trying to cover it up. And I just thought it was a funny way of viewing things, and it was very British the way he said it, and it was funny. It was getting a laugh, and I found it hilarious. But it's also like highlighting how self-deprecating we are to ourselves and other people as well. Like,
the diner thing is also someone drops a load of plates. In the US, they'll all go, hey man, you okay? You good? You want a hand? Yeah. Over in the UK, what do we do? Why do we do that? And it's funny, and man, the fire service is the worst place for it and the best place for it. We have that dark humour, and it's our ability to cope with some of the difficult situations that we go through. But I'm a big one for just acknowledging each other, supporting those small wins. When someone comes in and goes, fucking bro, I did my 5k on the weekend, No, you could be a dick and go 5k.
Yeah.
What did you crawl it? Do you know what I mean? Where you got some disability, or you could go 5k, bro, that was massive. Like, how did that sort of situation start? Did you do the couch to 5k thing? Because I think that's incredible, and it's such a great, marginal gains perspective on making some progress. Like, what's the next thing? And let me know. And you're doing one with your missus, or you're doing one with your kid. Celebrating those small wins and acknowledging each other for it. That's where I'd love us to get through, and that's one of the biggest things I try to imbue in my children. Is celebrating those small wins, because we're terrible for it. Certainly as business owners, like how often, even after we're going to do the podcast today, your minds, even as we speak now, what percentage of you would you say is present in this room right now?
Oh, I like to think at least 80%.
80%?
Yeah, that's a deep question, though. Yeah,
it is.
It makes you really reflect on it, and it's interesting when you think it's getting a feel of the people around you and sort of. I don't know, for me, it's always about the environment, the atmosphere, what other people are saying, kind of riff on that. And I feel like I get more and more present as the conversation goes on. When you first hear, you're thinking about, when's my next client? What's my son doing right now? Is he being good?
Is he okay?
Yeah. 100%.
Does he need me?
Yeah.
Is the mortgage going to get paid this month? Do I need to think about what's going on later on in the day? But that's, before we started recording, we spoke about podcasting, and because I think people miss present conversations, because so often are we listening to respond, or are we just waiting for our turn to speak? And most people in the world today are just waiting for their turn to speak. I'm thinking about the next great thing I'm going to say, and I'm going to fucking drop this bomb in a minute. All right, shut the fuck up, Brad. Let me say the thing that I was going to say because it's really impressive. But actually, are you listening to respond? And are people feeling heard? And I think that's why podcasts have grown so much, because we're losing that art of communication. We're losing the ability to have deep, meaningful conversations, because it does come at a cognitive cost. Like, my memory is horrific. I don't know if it's just the ADHD thing or fucking what, but my diary is God. Because I don't even know what I'm doing tomorrow until I look at my diary. But I think the counter cost to that, or my reasoning for that, my excuse, I always say to my missus, is I'm trying to focus on right here, right now. I'm with you two. I'm trying to have a really present conversation, because I want to have a meaningful experiences. We said before when we were, getting on the WhatsApp group, saying like, we don't want to live longer, we want more experiences. And I was reading in a book recently, I can't remember who it was.
Yeah, I love that when you put that in there. It's great.
Where they were saying that, they went on holiday, they'd been planning this holiday, and when they were on holiday and they walked out onto the balcony and they went, God, I can't wait to come back here again next year. You're here now. You're here right now. But you're taking out 20, 30% of that cognitive presentness to think about the future. Like, happiness is over there somewhere. I always talk about like the happiness horizon. The more you chase it, the more it's going to constantly recede away from you. You've got to realize that it's here right now. And then the next one that I might come across will be great. But like, after we record a podcast today, and maybe we'll try and make a thing of it, to acknowledge each other and go, that was great. You know, Pete had to drive and you had to, you know, get your missus out of the house and, you know, all this. She didn't have to leave the house, but, you know, create an environment where we could have a meaningful conversation because we're investing some of our time to be here.
Yeah.
You know, there's the, what's the 4,000 Weeks book? Who's the guy? Oliver Berkman.
That's the man. Yeah, I've seen your notes.
Oliver Berkman, 4,000 Weeks. Jesus. Weeks and the finiteness of time is a really great way to drag yourself into the present because this is not indefinite. I always like to think about Christmases because Christmas has just passed and I think, how many Christmases have I got left? Okay, I'm 35. So let's say I've had half of my Christmases. I think the average age of the UK male now is like 68 or something like that. Obviously, everyone's living a bit longer now and it's all getting pushed back. With all the crap that I've put into my body over the years, I think I've got some big bills to pay that are probably still yet to come. But I think I've had half of my Christmases. So every time I have one of those, or every time my daughter has a birthday, I've only got 30 of these left. Do you think about 30? If you only had 30 coffee cups left in the thing, you'd be like, shit, I better buy some more soon, because that's only a month's worth if I want to have one a day. If I'm only going to have 30 more Christmases, if I'm only going to, you know, if I release an episode a week and I've only got 52 in a year, I want to be present for them and I want to enjoy them. I want to be able to record them and go, you know what? I love that chat with Ryan and Brad and it was worth my time traveling there and taking time out of my life to be here and be present with you. Because otherwise, you're not really thinking about where you're spending your time because every time you make a decision to be somewhere, you're unconsciously choosing not to be somewhere. Right this very second, you are deciding, because your kid's not at school yet?
No, she's just turned 2, so she's a couple of years
So your decision to be sat here with us right now is more important to you than being with your daughter?
It's, I mean, that's the dilemma of every dad, isn't it? Like
100%.
work versus family life, you know.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, 100%. Have you ever seen the stat about by the time you're 18, apparently you've spent 80 to 90% of all the time you ever will with your parents?
No, yeah.
Which is mad.
That's
by the time you're 18,
Have you podcasted with your parents yet?
No,
but we've talked about
it. You don't have to do it publicly. You've got to put it out. I've done a podcast with my dad and with my mum and with my missus.
Individually or together?
Yeah, no, individually.
Okay.
Because they've got different life makeups, and they're both as interesting because you're more than just your relationship, and also you're more than just the thing you do, and you're more than just a dad. You know, both of you are, and so am I. So I wanted to give them both their independent podcasts because there's something about recording it that really brings out a lot, because people become self-aware. You know, we're all very conscious. I've got a microphone in front of me now. Someone's going to hear this one day. How am I coming across and all that sort of stuff? And it really makes you think about what you're saying. And yeah, I'd strongly encourage anybody. And I've been doing it with my missus. Like, I've been in a relationship now for about 8 months. I was married for a long, long time before that. And we've been recording podcasts every month. Not releasing them, not putting them anywhere. She loves listening back to them. But we've just come back from Rome. We've done a podcast about that. Like, what was your favourite bit? What did you enjoy about it? What did you think the holiday was going to be like? What was your favourite memory? And all that sort of stuff. Because don't rely on your memory. Your memory is rubbish. It will fail you constantly. That's why I always say think in ink, and the new ink is the microphone, because there's so much more authenticity in this. Like, write it down. You know, record it. Because the memory will fade in time. That's why pictures and videos are so good as well.
I think that this form for you, by the looks of things, is like reflection time as well. If you've been on a holiday with your missus and you come back and going, right, what did you really enjoy about that? How often do people come back from a holiday where they had a great time and actually ask each other, what did you enjoy the most? Yeah. What was your favourite bit? What do you think we could have done better? If we go there again, what would you change next time? And it's, you know, you don't have to just do that with holidays, but you can do it with other coaches and talk about work and business.
We do it with the client. Did you enjoy that session?
Yeah, exactly.
What did you enjoy about it? I just thought it was great. No, but what specifically did you enjoy? Because the bits you didn't enjoy, don't just douse me in false praise and go, oh my God, Ryan, it was just amazing. Every part of it was like it was bespoke for me. No, there was bits that you didn't like, bits of it that hurt your hip a little bit, bits that weren't perfect. Like, if we were to do that again, do you ever do, like I do this with business all the time, what do we want to do more of, what do we want to do less of, what do we want to start doing, what do we want to stop doing? 4 quadrants, and just put them in that order. What elements do we, and I do this with the watch as well, where we sit down every month or whatever, we have a watch meeting. What do we want to do more of? What do we want to do less of? What do we want to start doing? What do we want to stop doing? And I think about that with all of my experiences, because you'll know, listening back to podcasts, you pick up all your own verbal tics. And I'll hate myself when I listen back to this, because it's just like that verbal vomit of excitement that comes through when I've just got free reign to, to have an audience and sit with people and enjoy a conversation. And
that's the worst thing when you edit your own podcast as well.
God, everybody hates the sound of their own voice. But this method of communication is what people are starving for, because it's not false, it's not corporate. I always hate when you see like the BBC or something like that, and they go, right, we're going to sit down with Ryan today, give us your thoughts on the world in 30 seconds. And you go, well, that's not right, is it? Because this person is way more than just a 30-second sound clip. Okay, thank you very much, we need to go to an advert now. That's why I think, and we said it before, like, podcasting is the most authentic version of social media. Because am I supposed to encapsulate all of who you are in a photo, in a 60-second reel, in 300 characters or whatever it is? People are so much more than that. And I think if we don't give that opportunity for people to unfold and reflect on who they are and what they want, then we're all just fucking wandering around in the dark. We don't really know where we're going with it.
It's funny because we haven't actually introduced the podcast yet.
This is Pete.
This is Pete, by the way. Pete Watkins.
This is the first time we've met. I'll be one of this.
Sure.
I'm
normally our usual start is welcome to the Fitness Podcast, and but we've kind of just got straight into it, which I quite like, to be fair. It's kind of been very free flowing and natural, and I think you obviously come across exactly like that, very much so in social media, in the podcasts I've listened to. But we also, obviously, on this podcast, want to get to know you a little bit more. Who is Pete Watkins? And one of the big things surrounding you, I guess, is SAS Who Dares Wins.
Yeah, that's what's one of the things. And I'm going to do first because you'll hate it, and I'm going to do it right now.
Go for it.
Last name's Wakefield.
Yes, Wakefield.
You hate it so much. I love it.
What did I say?
Leave it in.
What did I say?
Leave it in.
Oh, you shout out fitness truck. You shout out Fitness Pete.
I have, haven't I?
Sorry. You're not allowed to edit that. You're not allowed to edit that because that's true. That's honest.
That's going straight out.
No, it's not. Leave it in because this is true. This is honest. We meet thousands of people every day. You've got thousands of clients. We've had conversations over the last few weeks. It's all been Pete, Brad, Ryan. I couldn't tell you your second names. Don't ask me. I don't fucking know.
I've made the cardinal sin, haven't I? Getting a guest name wrong. How bad can that be?
Don't do it. Don't worry about it. Leave it in.
I've mixed up because we've had another guest on called Pete Swatkins, haven't we? And that's my mind is constantly going there.
Mate,
I'm sure I've said it before. Maybe one of the.
We're 500 episodes deep, and sometimes because we do a lot of ours virtually, I'll meet people in person, and they'll go, Pete, and I'll go, bro, there you are. I've had a 3-hour conversation with you about your life and your career, and I can't even remember your name. That is so offensive, because for most people, they might only ever do one podcast. They've never been on a podcast. Yeah, so to them, it's really important. It's important to you as well, but you do one every week. Yeah, so there is a slight discrepancy in not the value that you take away from it, but the amount you're going to be able to remember. There's a thing called Dunbar's number. Have you heard of Dunbar's number?
Yeah, the amount of people you can remember in your... 150, isn't it, I think?
150 in your close circle, then I think it extends to 500 names you can remember, and then like 1,000 faces. And I probably got those numbers wrong for anybody that's going to go and have a look. But you reach a cap with it. You ever see the Simpsons episode where he learns how to make coffee and forgets how to drive? Yeah, Homer Simpson, he learns how to make coffee and he forgets how to... Because your cognitive plate is full. So leave it in, because it's authenticity.
I'll leave it on your request.
Yes!
Plus, I've told you my trick about remembering people's names. I see someone out, I go, oh, sorry, what's your name again? And they tell me the first name. I go, oh, no, sorry, I meant your surname.
Yes,
it's
nice.
It's a very good social cue. So, Paul, back over to you.
So I'll tell you what, I'm going to make you guys go first, because I don't know a little bit about you. I've looked at your social media platforms, and again, this might be nice for the audience because people are coming across this for the first time. They might not want to cycle back to the first episode, although they might do after this. Who are you?
I guess it's good as well because we're obviously going to do a Sharecast on this. Our first Sharecast,
and
where we post on both platforms. But let's start with you, Brad. I'm going to put you on the spot.
I'm going to say age before beauty, but I'll go first, right?
That's fine. We've obviously explained a little bit about ourselves in our own podcast, but for Pete's listeners, how would you explain Brad Thompson?
I'm Brad Thompson. I've firstly a wife, a little boy.
Love that.
Absolute world. I always like to start with that. I'm a husband, I'm a dad. And in terms of me, myself, I'm not used to doing this. This is really strange. Nice. I've been a PT for 14 years now.
How old are you?
I'm 33.
33.
Yeah, 33. So I've done it for a long time, on and off. I fell into leadership at quite a young age. I was quite a young manager. And you think you learn a lot being a young manager.
So what did you do before this?
I used to work at the English Institute of Sport in Sheffield.
Nice.
And I did all sorts of things. I was a sports assistant doing all the setups, and that's probably where my organisational brain comes from. Then I really dove into the fitness side of things, and I loved it. I really, really loved, from a young age, I did martial arts, black belt in karate, loved football. So, I don't know, it became secondary. The gym became a complement to what I did from a sport perspective. And I really wanted to explore that. really fell in love
Who
with the
do
gym
you serve at English Institute of Sports, right? What clients or teams do they work with?
There's all sorts. We had a lot of the Olympic program there. We had GB boxing, a lot of parasports there. Obviously, there's a huge athletics arena. So, famously the home of Jessica Ennis-Hill. Dame Jessica Ennis-Hill.
Indeed.
Our ideal guest. We'll go do for her.
Yeah, our dream guest. So, we're getting there. And no, I think from there, you learn a lot. You learn a lot about yourself, organisation, professionalism. And I'll come on to that in a little bit because you really triggered something for me that's made me really reflect on my own self-beliefs and self-worth. So maybe some things I can get wrong sometimes. But I remember setting a target. I said, right, by the time I'm 24, I want to be an assessor. I want to train people how to be PTs. Because I think I'm really good at this now.
Yeah.
Inflated ego and all that.
But why did you want to step beyond it then? Why was the thing you were doing then no longer feeding you into? Because I had this, like, went from coaching to then managing coaches and just trying to keep stepping back away from the face-to-face running a session, all that sort of stuff. Why wasn't that filling your bucket anymore?
I always describe it as fishbowl syndrome.
Okay.
I felt like a very big fish in quite a small bowl, and I knew that there was a big world out there. So I had someone come in to train me how to be a PT. Back in the days of vocational qualifications where you could do like year-long apprenticeships. Yeah. And somebody walked in, said to me on reception desk, do you know anyone who wants to be a PT? I'm like, me? Yeah. I 100% want to do it. And I spent a full year working really closely with this guy.
Why? What did you think being a PT was?
I thought being a PT was helping people achieve the goals. I thought it was being paid for being in shorts all day, being in the gym. And I fell in love with that idea. And then it became so much more than that. It became so much more of a getting to know people face to face. Like now, for example, I'm fast forwarding a little bit, but I work with a Paralympian, and then the next day I might be working with, a mum of 3 who's a stay-at-home mum. Then I might be working with a business owner. I can't think of many other jobs where you constantly get such a diverse group of people who you speak to. And I think it really rounds you as a person. It refines your interests. But yeah, that's probably really what gravitated me to it. And then, yeah, again, fast forwarding a little bit, I was lucky enough to become an assessor at 24, travelled the country, basically
assessing
teaching people.
Personal trainers?
Yeah, and leisure managers, which was also really fun.
Yeah.
So I visited a lot of gyms. I counted it up, actually. By the time I was 26, I must have been to 200 gyms and leisure centres. So you start getting this really broad...
That's a beautiful, holistic perspective.
It's fantastic.
I have it with the podcast now where I travel up and down the country, again, assessing like firefighter apprenticeships, stuff like that, and you see all these different services, all big, multi-million-pound organisations. But if you've only ever been in your own gym, or you've only ever been in your own fire service for 10, 20 years, whatever, you think this is the only way to do it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, you've read one page of a massive book of physical training, or gyms, or leisure facilities, or fire services. And I'm like, people in Manchester, or Tyne and Wear, or Scotland, or Merseyside Fire Service, they're not killing people every day. So whatever they're doing, it's obviously working. It's just very different than how you do it. And taking that into the sports context, I remember listening to a sports commentator's review before one of the Wimbledon finals, and he was saying, like, you saw Federer show up, and you saw Nadal show up, and then you saw Andy Murray show up, and how they prepare before they get there. Like Nadal is loads of like physical prep and super technical stuff for resistance bands, and then he's doing these SAQ drills, and he's doing all this sort of stuff. And then you see Federer, and he's all playful, and he's messing about, and he's, you assume that the professionals must all prepare in the same way, and you're like, no, there's lots of ways to get to their stimulation curve, whatever that's called, that inverted U theory of stimulation. Get to that sweet spot where, are they playful, are they creative, how do they get into that flow state? It's Nick Secnihai, whatever his flipping name is, wrote that book on flow.
Yeah.
How do you get yourself into that flow state? And everybody's way into that. It's coming back to like the destination versus the journey. We were talking about helping somebody get to a fit and healthier position. Or even like when I said about knots and lines earlier, as long as they get to the destination, how they go about doing it, that's a wide spectrum. If I said to us, like, we want to go to Scotland, okay, so we're all 3 of us are going to go to Scotland. How we get there is entirely up to us. There's a bunch of different A roads, motorways, everywhere. As long as we arrive at the same destination, there'll be more efficient ways of doing it. There'll be lots of shortcuts and all this sort of stuff. But as long as you can help the person get to their destination in the way that they need to get there, and I think coming back to your point about seeing all these different gyms, seeing all these different personal trainers, there's loads of ways to be quote unquote successful. And it's also about how do you define success in that? So you said about working with the Sports Institute and wanting to start training other people, what did success look like in that capacity for you? How did you know you were going to be doing it well? What was your metric for good?
For me, I've always wanted to feel useful. I've always wanted to feel helpful, like I'm giving some sort of service. I don't know why. It feels very deeply ingrained that I've always wanted to feel helpful, like I'm of some sort of worth. And I know a lot of parents who I speak to feel that way.
Do you have siblings?
Yeah, I've got 2 younger brothers.
Two younger brothers.
It's always me and Ryan.
Parents
are both
together?
The eldest. My dad, they stayed together, but my dad passed away when we were 25.
Okay.
And I had 2 younger siblings to look after.
How much younger were they?
So I was 25, my middle brother was 21, and my youngest was 16. So really formative years for them, and we all dealt with it very, very differently. And
100%.
Yeah, and that's probably where my life.
We all have had different perceptions of who your dad was as well.
Yeah.
Because you'll have grown up with him a lot more, whereas for the 16-year-old, he was solely like dad, the god of everything, knows all the best answers, whereas you probably perhaps knew him as more of a imperfect human being, as we all are. You know, we have this with our kids now, like we assume we should have all the right answers. No, we're just an imperfect human being trying to do the best we can with what we've got. And then how did he pass?
Yeah, pancreatic cancer. And it was very quick, almost. One day he was strong, fit, active, and then within 6 months he was 9 stone, really brittle, frail, and passed away, and it were really shit. And I think it gets to that stage where I spent a lot of time on my own because of my job. I was traveling a lot, I was driving, and it does give you some fantastic self-reflection, but you also go through all the turmoil of, all the phases of grief and that sort of stuff. And that's probably where my life really changed a lot. I've started to, because I've never really told you this, Ryan, but I've always said for 25 years of my life, it was pretty plain sailing. Did everything I wanted to do, achieved everything I wanted to do. And then I had this first major setback. Like Dad passed away like a train. Like a train hit you and you think, oh shit, like everything started to crumble around me. I saw the family dynamic change. I felt like me personally, I felt myself crumble. I felt my relationship start to fail, and it's not until
the floor's just dropped out, hasn't it? Your safety net of if everything explodes tomorrow, I've always with my mum or dad, And I think about it with my dad. He ran a building firm for 40 years, and even now, I've got an issue with the house or wherever I'm living at the time. Ring me, Dad. What does he think about? He's gonna die at some point, and he's not a spring chicken. I had open heart surgery the other year, and I think, I think you said earlier, like you've spent 80% of the time with your parents by the time you're 18, 19. And that's why I say to people, do a podcast with your parents, because you're gonna want to hear that. Imagine if you could listen to a podcast now with your great granddad. Yeah, because at the minute you see a picture of him on the wall and you go, oh, that's Granddad Jeff, wasn't it? Oh yeah, what was he like? And someone will say 5 words about him. Yeah. That encapsulates his entire life, does it? That's who that person was. But if you could hear him now, like I think my daughter's son, if they could listen to this in 80 years' time and they go, Jesus Christ, Grandad Pete was full of life and he was weird and he actually swore quite a lot, didn't he? And he was like, I remember him as this old bloke wearing a jacket, and I saw the photo of him with Grandma, and you don't think about those types of things. But hey, your dad passing away is such a significant moment, and like you said, it's a big life change for you, because I think there's this thing about every person lives 2 lives, and the second one begins when they realise they've only got one, and that when you realise the finite delicateness of our big sack of meat that we're wobbling around in, and we think we're going to be here forever, and we're not, and someone that you've been so intimately close with is just gone. And that is it. The romanticism of, oh, is he there in the afterlife? How am I talking to Dad? Oh, maybe not. Maybe he's just gone. Maybe it was just an eternity of abyss with this finite flash of light of 60 years. How old was he? 50, 60?
54 it was.
54.
It's quite a haunting number.
Yeah,
as in there's a lot of my relatives who passed away. I'm 33.
33? Yeah? Scary. Really scary stuff. How much longer are you going to be around? How much longer are you going to have opportunities to make a difference? Because I always say, your goals, your ambitions, whatever. The things you want are going to give you constant opportunities to betray them. Constant opportunities. You just push it back. Yeah? I always think there's like an abused partner inside us who's saying like, when are we going to go on holiday? When are we going to do? And you're like, soon, baby, soon. Yeah, we're going real soon. Yeah? And you're like, fucking when? You know, I've got it tattooed on the inside of this arm. If not now, then when? And on this one, it's Carpe Diem and all that sort of stuff. And these are just constant, corny, rubbish little... I've got these little tattoos. I do more and be the difference. I've just got crap tattoos all over my body. Honestly, it's horrific. But they're playful. And they remind me, they're like, we're not here forever, brother. We're not here forever. Stop messing about. Yeah, it doesn't mean be super serious all the time and everything's got to be, focus, hustle porn. But it means live with intention. Something we spoke about on the WhatsApp group. Live with intention. Am I doing the thing that I want to be doing? Or am I still talking about this future stuff? When is it going to come? When am I going to start doing this stuff? So for you, that big transition was 25.
25, and when...
So is that when you left the Sport Institute?
No.
So you were 21 when you started doing it?
Yeah. So I was 19 when I first started doing PT. Left English Institute of Sport at 24. Traveled the country for a different company. And then you actually remind me of the time where probably my second life began. Because I was approached by some two old contacts of mine. And they were both firefighters and they both started a gym based on firefighting fitness. And it was really taking off. And I've always had this affiliation to servicemen and women, whether that's public servants, whether that's I've got a lot of friends in the military,
nurses, doctors,
got a lot of friends in the military, and
whatever.
And I don't know, I felt this affiliation to it, and it was a massive risk to leave this corporate job that I was doing really well at in terms of training PTs to step back onto the gym floor and become this gym manager, this PT again. But I wanted to live again. I wanted to feel a certain way, and I thought, right, I'm going to want kids in a few years. Like, I don't want them being like, oh yeah, dad's just grinding away.
He's a manager.
But
what does that mean?
I don't know. It felt very uninspiring to me. And all of a sudden, so
that's what you said about feeling like you're having a purpose, like you're delivering something. I always think like firefighting is for, and I say this is for myself, not for anybody else, but like they're for morons like me who like a nice short reward loop. I go to a place where there is devastation, someone is having the worst day of their life, they're stuck in a car, they're dying, their house is on fire. Me and my team, we're going to do a series of actions really quickly, within like half an hour or an hour, and we're going to have an immediate, dramatic effect on this person's life. So when I go home at the end of the day, someone says, what did you do today? And you go, I did this. Yeah, and it made a massive difference to that person. And that's why I've really struggled with what we call green book roles, which is non-operational roles, where like, oh, today I filled out 10 spreadsheets, and you go, who cares? Yeah, and there is a return on that investment. It's just a very long one. It's a very, very long one. Oh, like I might see the reward in 8 months when the project comes to fruition, or when we launch the new gym in a year's time, or when whatever, comes to its natural progression that we're all working towards strategically. But it's so hard to get those short reward loops. And you do need short reward loops on a regular basis. Yep. That's what I think podcasting is like. So it's like every week, bang, did the episode, put it out, got some feedback. Someone said, oh, dude, really found that person interesting, really enjoyed that. It inspired me to apply for the fire service or whatever. Or, they hear one of yours. It's like, I'd never heard of that. Someone break it down like that. And I'm really going to try that. Actually, I tried that workout in the gym the other day, or I actually went to that website that you recommended. And now it makes sense to me. I took you from here to there. You need those nice from and tos to be able to realize, like you said, you want to be of service. You want to be useful. And I think about this when I see people putting on LinkedIn or whatever about their retirement. They're like, I've done 4 years. Because what I loved about your introduction, and I apologise for constantly interrupting you, but it's like, you started with, I'm a dad, I'm a husband. Most people start with something like, you go on courses. I'm going on a course next week. And they'll go, let's go around the room and introduce everybody. I'm Pete Wakefield, and I don't do this, but people go, oh, I'm Ryan. I've been in the fire service for 18 years. No one cares. No one cares. Because time equals experience, but time doesn't equal expertise. Because you could be a PT at the arse end of nowhere in a really small gym in a village with 6 clients who've never made any progress. But you go, I've been a PT for 20 years. Yeah, I know this stuff. And you go, how do you know this stuff? Show me the from and to. Show me the difference you've made with somebody. So when people just use time as an arbitrary metric, I'm like, that doesn't mean anything. You know what I mean? Don't just be somewhere for long. That's why I hate long service medals. We've just had a few big things down in London. People go down and put crests on, and they're wearing the medals, and people are like, 20 years of service. I'm like, oh, thanks for coming to work for 20 years. What have you done? You've just shown up. That's a participation medal. You know, I have the utmost respect for a member of the military. They've been here, they've been part of that deployment, they've been part of this achievement. Massive. You know, if someone's been given a Valor Award or they've done a specific action at an incident, or a first responder's done something, incredible. But long service? Thanks for showing up.
As of January, I've been doing this for 10 years and I'm tempted to get myself a medal now.
Yeah.
I don't get a medal. I'll get you a medal. Services to R5. I have to wait on the podcast every week.
So flip it. You're next. Who the hell are you?
I was wondering where to start. I think, same as Bradbury, you know, dad, not husband, but fiance, due to be married in a couple of years' time.
Congratulations. I'm going to ask you about that in a minute. A few years' time is a weird metric.
Well, I'll tell you the long story of it. But I'm going to start on the other end. I'm going to start with my flaws, things that I need to get better at. And I think the main thing for me is I'm a workaholic. I think for anyone who knows me on a personal level knows that, you know, I'm married to what I do with my work, my businesses, and I think that it's something that is it has a big impact on like everything from relationships to friendships, and you know, you become very isolated in what you do. And I think that's something this year, I think I mentioned to you on the messages, like Christmas for me this year was one month where I was like, okay, I need more of this. It was a real eye.
Well, you did, because you apologised. You're like, oh, sorry, been off the grid, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Don't apologise for that. I'm sorry, I've been living life. Oh, how dare you?
But with what I do as well, I feel like my...
Get back to my arbitrary WhatsApp message, please, urgently. Mate, I would say that I've got about 300 unread WhatsApp messages, not because I'm remotely popular, but I'm like, if it's important, guess what they'll do? They'll ring me. Yeah. Otherwise, I'll get to it 10 past never. Yeah.
I can't live that way. My business and what I pride myself on is being able to communicate with my clients and people who pay my bills very quickly and very fast, and I do pride myself on that. So quick turnarounds with everything from messages to programs to having them feel like they're getting the best service, but that comes at a cost. It comes at a cost to your personal life, to your relationships, it comes at a cost to friendships, and over the years those things whittle down to the people that you just need there because you prioritise what you need. And that's been kind of the kind of great benefit of what I do, but also the detriment, I guess, of what I do. But the flip side to that is, coming back to what you were saying about the feedback loops and those instant rewards in what you do for your career, I'm exactly the same. I think a lot of people are. I think it comes back to being satisfied in what you do. And I've created the life for me that I think is what I want to do. I had a real issue when I was younger with authority and being the bad kid and not doing what other people want me to do. I've always had this thing of I have to make the final decision. My mum always jokes, because if you told me not to touch something, I would touch it and make sure that I knew why I had to not touch it.
Yes.
If it was the stove, if it was whatever, if it was going to burn me, I had to burn myself before I realised, oh, I don't touch it because I burned myself. I can't just listen to someone say don't touch it. My thing is, it's experiences. I have to know what I want and what I don't want.
So I've had a few disciplinaries in my career that have resulted from that very thing.
Really?
Yeah,
within work?
Yeah. Because I hate this thing of rank, it's that authority thing as well. Like, we have it in the fire service, just as a tiny segue, but I want to come back to your flaws and the aspect of professionalism, something that I really want to dig into as well. But this aspect of, you ever heard of the hippo's opinion?
No.
Highest paid person's opinion.
Right.
Yeah. We have this in fire service. So like, we're sat in a meeting and we're talking about a new procurement model because we want to invest in all this kit, or we're going to build a new fire station or whatever. And the highest paid person is sat over there and they've got their rank markings on and they want to make the final decision. Why? Are you a subject matter expert in accounting? No. Are you a subject matter expert in building regulations or anything? No. You just get paid more than everybody else and you've got a rank on your shoulder. Therefore, you think we should all listen to you. That does not matter. Like, when we go to courses and stuff and people will like to wear their uniform. So I'll go on a course, I'll wear this. And people go, oh, where's your uniform? And I'm like, what's the likelihood you think I'm going to need to take over an incident? Because in the fire service, level 1 incident commanders manage up to 4 trucks, and then above that it's a level 2 incident commander, and blah, blah, blah. The more complex the incident, the more higher rank you're going to need. But that is for operational incidents only. And we have this real bleed over of command and control, where a big part of our organisation is command and control, because we all need to march to the beat of a certain drum. I'm going to directly give you orders and stuff like that. But when we're not on an operational incident ground, I'm not going to give you orders, Because this is democracy. We're in a meeting now. We're having a conversation. You've got ideas. You've got ideas. Oh, you've got a background in managing. You used to work at the Sport Institute, and you've got all these businesses. Oh, you've got a different neurodiversity and a different experience that's going to add value to this. All I've done is manage fire incidents since I was 17. How useful is that in me making decisions for this multi-million-pound organisation? Largely irrelevant, but some people do that. Excuse me, know your place. Yeah, there's rank markings that I've been referring to. Yeah. And it's like, whoa. That is not relevant to this conversation. You are just getting paid more than other people because you've been rewarded for certain elements of your career that's put you in that position, but it doesn't make you the subject matter expert in the thing that you do. And I really have that rub about that authority thing where I'll just poke the bear. Like, I want to poke your opinion to see if you even believe in your opinion. Most people come up with an opinion and then they make it the hill that they're going to die on. You didn't have an opinion on it 5 minutes ago, and now this is the thing that you're going to attach all of your value to. I want to poke that to see if you even believe it.
This is where really good, I think, delegators come in, and the best leaders are willing to listen to other people's opinions. And one of my favourite entrepreneurs is Richard Branson, and he's a self-confessed, introvert. Doesn't particularly.
He's a disruptor, though.
He's a disruptor for sure, but he says in his books that his best skill, and some of the people that have worked with him have always said the same thing, he can delegate jobs very well, and he's always open to new ideas. He might not take all the new ideas, but he's always willing to listen. Whereas a lot, I think, of big people in positions of power, same in your fire service, because of the stripes, because of what they've got on their patches.
I'm CEO.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So your opinion means nothing, but actually, they have to appreciate they've hired you for a reason.
Yeah, you invited me in because I am an expert in writing code. Yeah, that's what you employed me for, and I'm going to advise you on this, and now you're just going to blanket, just go with your own direction anyway. And it is such an important thing because, like you say, the leader, I always say it with the watch, like, I'm here to take responsibility. I'm not here to make all the decisions. I'm here to take responsibility if stuff goes wrong. Give all the credit, take all the responsibility. Like, if I'm on a watch, if I've got, Brad's the lead in rope rescue, or you're the lead in water rescue, yeah, or you're the BAI instructor, or breathing apparatus instructor, you're the subject matter expert on that. You know more than me. So if I get to an incident and it's a water incident, the best thing for me to go is go, so what you thinking, brother? Where's the best point of entry? What's the river left? What's the flow looking like? Where can we see any eddies? What's some things that we need to be aware of? What would you do as a tactical plan here? Well, I'm thinking ABC. I'm thinking we launch off that point. I'm thinking we come downstream. We do an aggressive swim across and blah, 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 blah. Wicked. If you know your subject well enough, you can explain it to me. We spoke about this before. Like, if you know your subject well enough, you should be able to explain it to a child. Yeah. So I know nothing about this. You're the subject matter expert. You tell me, and if it makes sense, I'm like, great, we're going to go with that. I'm going to step back here and be the incident commander and take responsibility, but take your tactical lead from this gentleman here, because he is going to give the plan, because he understands in this very, very dynamic environment, he's going to be the subject matter expert. But some people want to be the one that makes the decisions, wants to be the one that takes the credit for it. And it's such an important distinction that I think leaders really, really, really struggle with. You're there to take responsibility. You haven't got to have all the ideas, and you certainly are not there to take all the credit, because you're not going to do it all by yourself. We all need people.
Yeah, absolutely. Big organisations run on one leader leading the way. But it's a team effort. It's a melting pot of ideas and specialities, and the best and biggest companies will always have someone who's like Richard Branson, willing to listen, willing to kind of take on other people's ideas and understand that they don't know it all. That is the big thing with leadership.
Talk to me about that element of professionalism again. Why is that so important to you for you to be seen as a consummate professional? Why does that matter? Because what is that? What void is that filling?
I think professionalism is like validity in the message that you're trying to portray. If people don't see you as a professional in what you do, whatever that might be, for me, it's obviously coaching. If people don't see me as a professional in terms of coaching, they start questioning everything that you say. I think they start kind of, picking you apart. And I think it also is, I think professionalism is part of, it should be part of everyone's code of ethics, I think, and core values. That's probably my personal opinion.
I think it's a really strong value of yours. You can see that, and I mentioned that we're going to come on to the professionalism side in a little bit, but my paradigm with this has really changed recently, because I've always tried to be really effortless, really smooth, but unfortunately, if you're trying to make a connection with somebody, or you're trying to help somebody, if you're smooth, you're going to struggle for friction. It just sort of slides off. Whereas if all of a sudden, as soon as you express your flaws, and I'm quite proud of you, Ryan, for talking about this, if you've got flaws, you're rough, you're not smooth, and that's adhesive. People stick to that. And that for me has been really interesting, because you might see it as the worst thing in the world, like, well, I'm not very good at X, Y, and Z, but actually other people stick to that and they'll go, yeah, I relate to that.
Yeah, because they're imperfect as well.
Perfect. Yeah, because you're not perfect.
It's what we said before, if you present yourself as that shiny piece of steel, it's like, oh, well, I'm not, so how can I relate to you? You're not like me at all. Do you know what I mean?
It's one of the reasons I started with it, because I think you mentioned earlier on about the authenticity online now, and people being like an inch deep, and they're not really putting themselves out there. And actually, if people put themselves out there more and were more authentic and were more honest, you gain so many more people who are like you and understand that, and then your audience and who you get close to you becomes tighter knit, and that's what we wanted to do with the podcast. It's what I want to do with the business. It's what I want to do in life.
It's a differentiating factor as well.
Because I've had moments, hand on heart, where I've not been as authentic, and I felt like I need to be the ultimate professional who, is too professional, too perfect, and too in shape, and doesn't talk about when they messed up on the diet, and doesn't talk about when they skipped the workouts, and only post the good highlight reels of my life. And I think this coming year, some of my goals are being more authentic. I want to get myself out there more, and that's why I think, starting with my biggest flaw, which is being too much of a workaholic, is something I want to just get out into the world.
I want to keep going on that element of workaholic. I want to keep going there in a minute, but that element of not being perfect, I put a post out yesterday, and it was something about, I forget how I titled it, it was something like 10k ride, I got slower, because so many people are posting the benefits, and I'm like, I got slower, because I've just been away for Christmas, and I've been to Rome, and I've had some fun, and I've prioritised those elements of my life, and it's the whole 2 step forward, 1 step back. I always say to people, don't let progress be the enemy of perfect, or don't let good be the enemy of perfect. So many people, and I think it's the reason most people don't start a podcast as well, because the first time you start, what was your first episode like?
Nervous.
That's pretty good.
Yeah? Have you listened back to it?
Yeah.
Any good?
No.
Horrific. Train crash.
It was. I listened.
It's not
to
horrific,
because,
but is it as good as it is now?
No, it's not. No,
of course it's not.
We're not as smooth, as comfortable.
It's much more polished now.
The thing when we first started our podcast, me and Brad didn't know each other terribly well either. It's not like two mates who were starting a podcast that have known each other for years. I know Brad from the gym that I go to. He's a coach there. We'd been on someone else's podcast. We bonded and kind of, built up a rapport through that. And then when I said in 2024, I want to start a podcast this year, Brad was kind of, almost top of the list. And I said, look, do you want to do it? And we didn't really know each other that well. I knew he'd podcast. He had some experience. I knew he was a dad. I knew he was a coach, very similar to me.
A lot of relatability,
There's phenomenally similarities between, like, we're both eldest of 3, we're both 33, we've both got a missus called Amy.
That's weird.
Not the same Amy. We always have to clarify that.
That'd be nice though.
But it just seemed like, too good to be true almost. And we both obviously wanted to learn, and I like the fact, Brad said something to me before we started this podcast. He said he'd gone from a very safe, stable job into something that was a little bit risky. And I like people who take risks. I'm a bit of I've taken a lot of risks to get to where I am now, and I think I like that in people who are willing to do that.
That probably, I have a specific moment in time that probably shifted my workaholicism.
Yeah.
Where my son must have been 18 months old, and I was with him, I was playing with him, and my phone rang. I was managing at the time, and I picked my phone up, and I'm like, I've got to take this call. And I'm talking to the person, and then Teddy picked up this little banana, and he went, oh, daddy work. And I picked up my phone, and I threw it. I've not told my wife this. And I threw it against the wall. And just hung up, threw it against the wall. Yeah. I went, I'm resigning. Done. Finished. Done.
I had a moment exactly the same the other day. I was on the sofa right there, and Amy was making some food downstairs to take Harlow upstairs. So I took her upstairs, she was playing, and a client messaged me. I'm still it's midweek, so I'm kind of mid-work, I'm still in work zone. And I sat on the sofa, and I just messaged this person. She's like, Daddy, come play this train with me. So we had a train track out. And I'm like, one sec. So I'm moving it. And then she just was stood there, and I could just see her stood there. And she said, pocket. I went, what? She goes, pocket. I said, what? What's in my pocket? She goes, she took my phone, and she just put it on my pocket. Yeah. And my heart, even now, like, I feel like I'm getting a bit emotional.
So
that was like it was like a moment where I was like, oh, she gets it. She understands that, like, that's taking attention away from her. She wants my attention. She wants me to play. She wants her dad there to play her train tracks there. Yeah. But he's not. He's on his phone. He's got other better
I always say children don't learn, they absorb. Because we think I can tell you things, but it's similar with coaching and personal training and whatever. If you're not living it, it just screams inauthenticity. Do you know? Because if you guys talking, I'm like, yeah, go on, Karen. What am I saying? This is more important than you. Yeah, this is way more important than anything you've got to tell me. Yeah, I don't know what this is. Don't even know who this is. But they're more important than you. And it could be anybody. So anybody is more important than me. And you said you love me, and you said you're my world. It doesn't map up. There's so much cognitive incongruence because you're saying one thing and you're doing this. You're doing this right so blatantly.
The hard thing in today's world is like, for me, especially working from home, being very online, being able to work from my phone wherever I am, it's hard for me to make that kind of transition of being like, right, this is family time, this is Harlow time. And one thing I've done this year on my diary is actually put into my Google Calendar moments when it's just Harlow time. And they're the moments when I'm going to put the phone downstairs, not check messages. People will be okay for a few hours without me, but I struggle in my own mind to be okay with that as well.
I think forced that for me as well was getting divorced. Because when I have my daughter now, there's no somebody else here who, we're both kind of here and the kid's just around the house. No, if the kid's not with me, if Lily's not with me, she's alone. Yeah, and you think to yourself, Lily alone in her bedroom, on her phone, with no one that loves her, no one that wants... No, you're in the house. You're there with her. Yeah? But when you're in a relationship, you're both there and you're both kind of parenting, so you're both with them, but neither of you are with them. That's when people talk about time with their kids. Kids don't want a lot of your time, they want a lot of your attention. Like I always think this before I come into the house, Lily's home from school or something like that, and I think, as corny as this sounds and whatever, how would the best dad in the world enter the room now? Because she's only wants 5 minutes. She wants 5 minutes of me to tell me something really interesting, then she's going to run back and she's going to message a friend on a phone, or she's going to get back to watching the TV thing that she was watching or whatever. But if I come in and I have eye-to-eye contact with her and I pick her up and I have a hug and I ask her about a day and what was the peak and the trough of today, what was the best lesson, who was there, what did you do? That focused bit, rather than someone says, I spent 8 hours with my kid last night. No, you didn't. You were sat there watching the telly and the kid was just in the house. Do you know what I mean? But it's the same with, we spoke about being present earlier. This focused conversation for an hour or 2 hours or whatever it's going to be versus, I spent a whole day with them the other day. Yeah, but how much quality time did we actually get together? And as much as if you end up getting divorced, that's kind of the extreme version of it. You don't want to have to learn the lesson that way. But for me, it's really forced me to go, no, I've got Lily today, so I don't really care what else happens. I'm not bothered. The world is not, and people have this with the fire service, like, if I don't get on shift, will everybody be okay? Everybody will be fine. If you explode tomorrow, the fire service will be fine. It was here long before you, it'll be here long after you. You have this with a lot of first responders, a lot of doctors. Or you ever heard of Ranjan Chatterjee?
Yes.
Yeah,
he's a doctor for...
Great podcast. Yeah, fantastic podcast. He had Dr. Gabor Mate on a little while ago, and he said most doctors, and also most first responders, don't take all of their annual leave. I regularly I lost about 6 days of annual leave last year because I didn't take it. How pathetic is that? How sad is that? And he was saying, like, when he was a younger doctor, he used to think that my clients need me. Ryan's daughter is, or wife, is having a child. They're pregnant. They're 3 weeks. They're going to need me. No, they need a medical professional. Someone to help them deliver the baby. They don't need you. Yeah. The real secret, this sad secret is you need them. You need them because they give you significance. Your clients give you significance. You like that reward metric because you message them and they go, you really helped. And there's a financial element to it. I get all of that as well. But it gives you that significance. Like you said, I want to feel like I'm of use. And people in the fire service and the emergency services, they want to feel like they're... I always say people join the emergency services for the outcome, not the income. They join it because they feel like they're making a tangible difference. And that's why we get away with paying us so little because... It's a romantic job. It's like my partner and my sister are both teachers, and they'll say, teaching's not a job, it's a vocation. Yeah, okay. And it is, because they're doing it for the love of it. Yeah. They do so much unpaid work. So much stuff on the weekends, prepping for classes, making a display, spending extra time on the phone with the parent at the end of the night. And the same with you guys. People go, you've got a lovely house, haven't you? And you've got a nice car outside. Is that your Porsche?
Yeah.
It's lovely. Yeah. And they go, look, it's all right for you. I work for minimum wage. Yeah, because you think I'm just doing 6 hours a day or I work there. I'm working all of the time. All of the time. People say to me, how much time do you spend on the podcast? 70 hours a week? I don't know, because I'm always answering a message and I'm always doing this, I'm always playing a guest and I'm doing this editing, that editing, and I'll get back and I'll schedule this and I'll be working on the next software thing or whatever. It's always in the back of your mind. And that's the workaholic aspect of it, isn't it? But why do you feel that you have to rebalance it? You say you're a workaholic, you feel like it's out of balance.
Yeah.
What is this balance thing? Because people are 50-50, is that right? Or is your balance 80-40? I'm a recovered addict, with ADHD. I know I have got an ongoing stream. I've always like a hose that you can't switch off. I can't switch this off. So what I need to do is point it at something that's healthy, because otherwise I'll start injecting drugs in myself or I'll do some destructive behaviours. I can't switch this off. So my balance, 70-30, 80-20. 50-50 is not a balance for me, but what's the rub that makes you feel like you work too much?
It's the impact on the people around me.
Okay.
That for sure.
How does that manifest itself? what feedback have you had on that?
Because
you ain't showing up enough. If you don't work less, I'm going to leave you. That might have been a conversation.
No, go depends how deep you want to go with this, but there's been some conversations over Christmas. No, she's
love you.
My missus doesn't listen to this either, so we're all right.
Sure.
But honestly, it is really deep. But there's been conversations around if you don't put your finger out, like she mentioned something to me the other day which really stuck me. She said, if you weren't here, Harlow would still have all the same support every day. And I was like, what do you mean? She goes, well, I do this and I do this and I do this and Harlow has this, and if you weren't here, all those things would still get sorted for Harlow, and she'd have, there's nothing like, it was almost like saying there's nothing significant that you're bringing in right now that's going to change drastically in her life. And that really got me thinking of like, yeah, you're right, maybe I do pick her up on a Wednesday, maybe I take her to swimming or something, but those things, they can be moved around quite easily. There's nothing, whereas if Amy was out of the situation and it was just me and Harlow, that'd be like a shitstorm because there's so many things that
are you a father figure or are you a dad? Because a father figure could be anybody, couldn't it? Is that someone that provides financial security for me, someone that teaches me a few life lessons? That could be an uncle, could be a friend of the family, but if you're her dad, like I struggle with this with my daughter, like I want to be my daughter's friend for as long as I possibly can. That's why I'm quite flexible with our language and I'm quite flexible with our relationship. Yeah, I've got some hard and fast rules, but honestly not many, because I want her to keep that communication door open with me all the time, especially she's 13 now and she's exploring social media and all this sort of stuff. I want her to be able to talk to me and I want us to be able to laugh. We just took a day's trip to Bruges. We went to a Christmas market, 24 hours. Yeah, we went down, stayed in a Holiday Inn, got on the ferry, 6 hours, and you go, oh, bloody hell, was it worth it for 6 hours going around? It was a goddamn adventure. Yeah, and I want to teach her, look how big the world is. Look at all this crazy stuff, and it didn't go well, and our daddy had to pay more for the parking, and then, we missed the thing by 5 minutes, and we tried to go to that shop, and it was closed, but then we found that candy making shop. We found this candy making, we watched this guy making candy, and his son, for like 2 hours. They were making rock. Wow. From raw, and you have to work it and all this sort of stuff. And that wasn't something we planned, but we just found it, and we found an ice skating rink, and then we found a little shop that did homemade chocolates and all of this sort of stuff. And I wanted to have an experience with her and be her dad, but also be her friend. And also, this was weird, we'll just clip this single bit, it will sound really weird. I want to date my daughter because I want her to know what it feels like to be really special to a guy. Yeah, because I think the same way that little boys fancy their mums when they're little baby, they're actually infatuated with their dad, they're infatuated with their mum, aren't they? And I think the same with the daughter, they idolise you as a dad until they get to like 14, 15, and then they fancy another boy, or might be younger for them. But I'm dating my daughter, so we go, we're going to go, right, let's wear some nice clothes, we're going to go to the cinemas tonight, I'm going to get you some flowers, and we're going to go have a nice meal together. Really because nice, I want her to know what that feels like, to be the centre of somebody else's world, so that she'll learn that and see that and hopefully apply some variation of that template to the way she expects somebody else to treat her. Because if your way you treat your daughter is you ignore her, well then when she gets a bloke in and older and then you see them together and you're like, can't fucking stand that guy, he always ignores her. Don't I? Where's she learnt that that's okay? Who's she learnt that from? She's learnt it from somewhere. Yeah, so who was it? Was it you? Was it her uncle? Was it what? But she's learnt that being ignored is okay.
we spoke about this, one of my biggest fears is like, you know, when they get to that age where they do start dating, especially, you know, being a dad of a daughter, and I think that's fantastic advice, I really do. And they will always choose what they want in guys from what they've learned.
Yep.
And they'll also realise what they don't want in guys from what they've learned. And a lot of it stems from your dad. Your dad is the person in your life, the male person in your life that's been there since day one, that you're learning and picking things up from. And I love the fact that you were like, I want to date her, but make her feel special. You know, that's it's a again. We don't
and equal thoughtful gifts. You know what I mean? Like,
but make her feel special. Make her feel like she can dress up and she can, you know, be herself a little bit as well.
Yeah, made of this little box as well. We'll just carry it for a second and we'll move on. But it was a little box for Christmas, really cheap box. Got a name printed on it with this special thing, and bought loads of personal little gifts inside it. Little makeup thing, a little character that she really likes, a little keyring with the name on it. All stuff that's, you know, £3 here, £10 there on Amazon and all this sort of stuff. And yeah, she got the Gucci nice handbag bag that she wanted as well, and the Nike Pro shorts and the bloody Crocs. How expensive are Crocs? She's for crap plastic shoes.
You won't see me dead in those.
There's a mark up there. I've got a pair of Crocs. But yeah, it's not just about, it's £300. Get yourself something nice. Do you know what I mean? You don't care.
Yeah.
You just bought my happiness. This was exchange. This was an exchange thing. Do you know what I mean? But you're right. We learn what we don't want, and I think about this with jobs and careers as well. I say this to my daughter, like, I think the worst question we ask kids is, what do you want to be when you grow up? Do you know? I don't know. I'm 35. I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. So asking them that, but I always say, just go out there and play in the sandpit, because you'll know what you want to do when you start doing things you don't like. Yeah, and the same with dating people. I don't mean go around and sleep with everybody, but you'll learn the behaviours that you don't like, and you'll learn the jobs that you don't like. And equally, you know, without getting too personal, like your dad, your urgency to start living life more, you may or may not have, and please, like, correct me, things that he maybe didn't do. Or was it? I mean, you're obviously a hard worker. Was he a hard worker?
Yeah, he was a bricklayer, very, you know, physical in what he did, and he had ambitions to do stuff when he retired.
Like what?
And he wanted to go to Australia. He'd never, you know, explored that part of the world before, and he wanted to travel a bit further afield and never got a chance to do it.
And he was too sick to do it.
Yeah, and I think for me, like Ryan's mentioned about being the father of a girl, like we didn't know what we were going to have. Like, we didn't find out the gender. So when Teddy was born,
I definitely think that's the right way to go.
Which one?
Did you find the gender?
Yeah, I'm too much of a control.
Too much of a control. You're opening your Christmas presents early. I don't care what it is.
No, I need to know.
No.
I need to know what colours going on. I've redecorated the room.
And I think for us it was interesting because when Teddy was born, basically we had him at home. Amy tore a little bit without getting too graphic. So we had to go to the hospital, and I had to drive from our house to the hospital. And that journey, I almost had a bit of an existential crisis, because I thought, am I good enough to teach Teddy how to be a man? And you sort of really think about everything. That was the first time I've never been more overwhelmed in my life. Because you drive and you think, oh my God, am I actually good enough for this?
Yeah.
That was one of my biggest things. When I found out I was going to be a dad, I was like, right, because I know how cognizant they are, even from like being in the womb.
They're picking it up.
You know, every single thing, and we're also, as human beings, a combination of our own parents' flaws and
100%
pros and cons that we really are. So I had that same thought of like, what is it that's a really bad trait of mine that I need to work on?
What'd you come up with? Mine's interrupting too much, so I'll start that.
No, I think the big thing was just being good, honest, and not that I wasn't, but I think just being more true to myself, and I think really thinking about the things I want to pass on to her more than anything else, and I've said somewhere to you.
More honest is a tough one.
I've tried most things in life, like you, and I think that was something that I had to kind of come out of the back end of like a partying phase, and still some weeks, mums struggle with that a little bit when you've got friends who are pulling
still in that world, yeah,
for sure. And that was something I was like, right, I need to readdress that and make sure I'm not, letting her see those things.
I went through recovery when Lily was born, so I was a perpetual liar. Because only in terms of the drugs, all the drugs I was taking.
Lying about stuff,
because you felt like you had to. Because what I'm doing is not acceptable in society. I've been a firefighter since I was 18, and I was lying to everybody. It was like the worst kept secret in the organisation that I worked for. I was 24 stone, really, really red, really, really massive, injecting growth hormone every day, taking steroids twice a week. I'd have amphetamines and speed on the weekends because I worked on the doors. Wow. And then I worked in a gym, and then I'd go and be on call with the fire service. And it was just grind, hustle. And these things were just performance enhancers, physically, mentally, Adderall, everything, you know. And I was just lying to everybody. Do you take drugs? No, of course I take drugs, yeah. And I was taking drugs every single day. And you can lie to other people so easily, if you choose to. You know, if your moral compass points you in that way. And total transparency, it wasn't until I had my daughter and the idea of, do I want it? Because you're almost lying to yourself then. Because when you have a child, it's like you're cutting out a bit of your heart and you're letting it exist on its own in the big scary world, and you can't protect it all the time because your children aren't with you right now. My daughter's not with me right now. I hope she's okay, but she might not be. Yeah. And I'm trusting that she's going to live in the world without that. And the thought of lying to her was just something I couldn't swallow. I just couldn't swallow that. And I think if I hadn't had a daughter, I'd probably be dead. You know, I probably would not still be here now because I'd have just kept doing all of the stuff because I could look you straight in the eye and lie to you. I didn't care because I thought you didn't understand it either. You're like, well, yeah, you've just got a different idea about it because you take drugs, man. You sat there drinking caffeine. What? Because my drugs aren't like your drugs and that makes me bad. And I would just lie to everybody. I lied to my parents. That's why I was thrown out of the house when I was 16. They found needles in my room and I just lied to them. And they were like, I don't understand what this is. I think you're killing yourself. I don't know what this is. You're not listening to us. This can't happen anymore. You just need to go. And I still kept doing it. And it wasn't until Lily was born where I was like, I can't do this anymore. And then you have to have that whole just self-reflection of, who am I if I'm not this? I'm the big strong guy. I don't need to be intellectual. I don't need to be articulate. I'm the big strong guy. I was, semi-professional strongman at the time. I've been international ice hockey, roller hockey. I played for Team GB in a couple of different disciplines. And my physical ability was 90% of my personality. Yeah. That's who I was. If I'm not this thing anymore, then who am I? And I think there's so much with professions, certainly with first responder professions and doctors as well, like retirement for people. When people retire from the first responder profession, when people retire from the fire service, it's the death of an identity. And the same people have it if you close down a business or something like that. You're like, I'm the fitness guy. I'm the personal trainer. I run the Fit Dads podcast. Do you know what I mean? If I'm not doing that anymore, who am I? Because I've told everybody this is everything that I am. So if I'm not that anymore, then what am I? And you've got to think that you're more than just the thing you do. You're more than just the business you have. You're more than just the people that you help. And that's why I love the introductions about, I'm a dad. I'm a partner. You know, these are the things that are non-negotiables to me. And all the other stuff, it's just details. It's just details and logistics.
I think we have that. A lot of people go through that, and we see it in coaching as well, where people have this like crisis of self-identity and they have to go and find themselves. And I think this is where the people that struggle with that more are the people that don't have really good core values. If your core values are good in terms of what you believe about you, then as soon as you start changing the things that are in your immediate environment, everything gets thrown into kind of disrepute. If you just identify with a person who's big, bodybuilder, strongman, takes steroids, if that's all you are, then when all that's stripped back, you feel naked.
Yes.
You feel naked, you feel exposed, and everyone's going to see who you really are. And I think that's
why I over communicate all of it now.
Yeah.
I'll talk about the miscarriages of drug use, because obviously you can't pickpocket a naked man. Like, it's, the old 8 Mile Eminem thing. Tell these people something they don't know about me. I said everything. There is nothing gotcha. Didn't anybody know you had a plastic leg? You know what I mean? It's like, well, I've already told everybody about it. There is nothing you can say about me where I'm going to feel like, oh God, shit, oh my God, they've said it. You know what I mean? No, because there's no secrets anymore. And it's so liberating from being at a point where, oh, are they going to catch me out? Are they going to realise I'm a fraud? And then we're going to realise that I'm taking drugs and that I'm lying and all this sort of stuff. That element of being true. Do you like yourself? Do you like who you are now?
Yeah. Mostly. I'd say
would you take you for a drink? Would you buy yourself?
Yeah, I would definitely. I like myself that I would, yeah.
I'd say so, yeah. Well, it's quite diverse as an interest, and reminds me of something my old coach said to me, Jack. He said, right, we were doing this big group, loads of coaches on this call, and Jack said, right, whose leisure time is spent training? And loads of people put their hand up. It's like, has anyone got any other leisure interests? Yeah. And like so many people like kept their hand down, and they were like, I think you're boring. So I think you're boring. I think you're putting your entire identity into this one thing.
Yeah.
It says you're not diverse, and that is worrying. Says you really need to just understand if that was taken away from you tomorrow, who are you?
Yeah.
I think that's a really strong thing that not a lot of people consider, and this is probably one thing I wanted to touch on, that a lot of people I think can get really wrapped up in being a parent. Their entire life is being a parent, and they have no interest themselves. And then all of a sudden the kids maybe want that bit more independence, and they don't want to let them go, and then they become this helicopter parent, and you're like, well, hang on.
I think women struggle with that most.
Yeah, it's like, that's not your job.
It just said about Amy, your missus, like she does so much for your daughter.
Well, she works part-time, so she's going to be the person who looks after the most. But I think
she's given up a career. She's actually got some friends group. She's given up her hobbies. Then when your daughter, like when Lily was 10, 11, 12, whatever, and my ex-wife had started, she doesn't know who she is.
Who am I? It's, again, she doesn't listen to this, so I think we're all right talking about it. But
I'm going to say this. I'm going to find her.
This is one of the things that we've discussed, and I think you're absolutely right. Like, her identity now is being a parent for sure. But she doesn't have a massive amount of hobbies away from that. And this is something that I've really tried to encourage, actively try to get back into. I said the shoemaker's wife doesn't wear shoes because I'm mad on gym and training and coaching, but she doesn't get that kind of stuff. She doesn't really like lifting weights. She likes running. She's run a marathon before. She's actually, on the surface of it, an amazing athlete. Like, she did very little training and has run a half marathon and a marathon.
Bloody incredible.
I know. She's got, I'm quite excited for her. She's got good genetics, I think. So she's going to be a good runner. But
if she wants to be,
but she doesn't. But Amy doesn't want to be. Like, she's not. She isn't into it. And she tried to get into like yoga and things in the past, and we've spoke about me.
Why does she think she wants to? Or where does that?
I think she has to, because I think everybody needs something they do away from the main thing that they do. Like, the main thing I do is work, but I can't just work. I have to go and train. I have to go and have other interests. I have to go and socialise with friends. We all have to have some of the things that go and tick certain boxes for us. I think Amy needs that, and I think that's something that we're in this.
But is there a hypocrisy? I don't want to pick on you. I follow again a bit focused there, but I just want to ask this question because it's also relatable for me, and it's something I've had to do in the past when I was running 5 businesses and I was in the fire service. And how was she going to do that? Like, how was my ex-wife? I bought her 2 horses because she wanted to. She said about, I want to ride horses, blah blah blah. But I'm not the sort of person that ever owns a horse, and I don't know when I'm going to do it. So bought some horses and made the time to do it. When is Amy going to do that? Because you said earlier, like, Amy gave an example that if you were ripped out of the life tomorrow, what difference would it have to your child? Which is a horrible thing to have to confront. But like, unless you step more into that responsibility of the parenting,
that's it.
Where is that time going to come from? Because she'll go, this all sounds great.
That's it.
When am I going to do that?
I think that's exactly what we're working on now. It's like, when am I going to give her that time? And that's the big change.
I get that your money pays for the house. I get it. You're the financial rock bed and all that sort of stuff. But you're saying you want me to create this more time in my life. I need help with that. I don't just need encouragement and rah, and I'll send you a link to the local yoga group. Maybe you should go. When? Are you going to not work on Wednesday then? So I can go and explore this, so I can go and mess about, see if I like it. Maybe I don't like it. Maybe I'm going to have to go to 10 clubs before I find one that I like.
The issue with Amy is, when we've had this conversation before,
Can't stand Amy. Always says one thing, doesn't it?
I said to her, so Sunday morning generally is a pretty good time for me. I sometimes fill it with gym if I want to go meet some friends, something like that. But I've said, right, Sunday morning, that's the time. I'm going to take Carlo out. You go and get your nails done. Go to yoga. Have a complete morning to yourself. Just you time. Like, go and please have some you time. And she goes, well, what if you go somewhere and I want to come? And I'm like, well, we'll go as a family then. But then you're not having time to you. You're still like in the family unit. You're still being a mum. And I'm really trying to encourage her to like do that and find things that she likes and enjoys. And it's been difficult, but I think it's an ongoing process, and I've got to just encourage her a bit more, I think.
Do you train with your partners?
God, no.
God, no.
God, no.
You know the CrossFit thing about like, we're friends, slap each other on the bum. No, thank you.
I can't do it.
No, thank you.
It's a weird power dynamic as well. Because it's like, unless, who's going to decide on what we do? And it's like, well,
I'm going to do my thing. Yeah. You do whatever the hell you want.
Yeah.
But when we're in there, I'm not going to ignore you, but I'm not going to come and check on you. Because also, I don't want to be your coach. Oh, but you've coached loads of people, and like we go, look, I can show you the thing, and but I can show you once or twice, but I do, because then it becomes a power dynamic. Okay, babe, you said you wanted to lose weight and whatever. We're not doing this, and the problem is I live with you, so I see all of the things that you're doing, Yeah, so let's not get into that, because then you're going to start to hate me for it. And there's going to be a weird thing where, you said you want to do this thing, and then the life that you live in isn't. Because also, my missus can't eat the things that I eat. I always say to her, like, I'm going around with a 4-litre engine. Not because I'm better than you, but I'm still a big guy who's got a lot of muscle. So I can eat that. Because I've bought the tokens. Yeah, I have bought the fun tokens with the workout I did yesterday and the workout I'm going to do tonight, and I know I'm going to fast for 2 days. Yeah, I can do that. But it's like, if you and I both drove to Sheffield, you're driving in a 1-litre car, I'm driving in a 4-litre car. So just, that non-exercise thermogenesis and all that sort of stuff. I'm burning more calories just sat here talking.
We've got to think about car analogies. Analogies with cars and exercise work so well, don't they? I do like that. You're right. We are. The more muscle,
I'm going to burn more calories.
Muscle.
It's not fair.
You've used a phrase before. Muscle is more
expensive. Expensive tissue.
Expensive tissue.
Yes, it is.
It's expensive to have on your frame.
Of course it is.
And I think if you want to
fueling, whereas if you don't have the muscle mass, you've not got anything to fuel.
Oh yeah. If you want to be the guy who can put away 3,000-4,000 calories, you better either be massive physically, just genetically, or you better have a decent amount of muscle.
You're going to have to eat a smaller portion than me. Not as in you personally, but like you're saying, I'm sat here with my Mrs. Hillary, or you're here with Amy, or whatever. Not because I earn more money than you, so I deserve a hot. I'm bigger than you. So we can eat the same, but you need to eat less. Not because, if you get fat, I'm going to leave you. It's not what I'm saying. It's just, this doesn't work. Stretch the time horizon. If we both eat the same amount of food together for the next 20 years, you're going to be massive and I'm still going to look okay.
Yeah.
That's not fair, is it? But we've got to think about that and use that in our day-to-day model. So no, I never train with my partner or anything like that. She does a lot of dancing, choreography and all that sort of stuff, and she's got to have her own thing.
Yeah, I agree.
I think there's a lot to be said about growing as a couple as well, because I know you've been with Amy a long time. I don't know how long you've been with Hillary.
I've been here for 8-9 months, so still very much in the infancy of our relationship.
Yeah.
But what I love about the new relationship is the intentionality.
Yeah.
Because also, and again, speaking from my own bias and stuff like that, she's divorced as well. She was with someone for a very long period of time before. Similar to what we spoke about careers, you've learned what you don't like. And you've almost got a few more non-negotiables now, and you feel more comfortable saying, that's not okay. Because we also say, uncommunicated expectations are premeditated resentments.
Ooh,
if I talk to you,
that's very nice.
Yeah, don't let that go.
That was
uncommunicated expectations are premeditated resentments. So earlier I was doing this to you, unless you turn to me and go, Pete,
don't touch me.
No, I'm not keen on that. I'm not very tactile. I'm not massive.
Not touchy.
It's really cool, but I'm not much of a touch kind of guy. Unless you tell me that, I'm going to keep doing this for the next few weeks until you go, do that again. I'm going to drop you. And I go, whoa, bro, what was the over-calibration there? And you go, because the first time you did it, you didn't go, mate, let's fist pump instead. Or actually, I'm more of a handshake kind of guy. That's okay. So unless I say to you, and Hillary's said it to me loads of times, where I'll get to what I'm freaking doing today, which is she'll go, baby, you're broadcasting at me. You're broadcasting. This isn't a conversation. You're talking at me now. So I don't think that's what you want to do, because I know your desire is for us to get a connection, and you say you're interested in my opinion, so it takes me a little bit more time to think of. She's far more intelligent than me, but she thinks about her opinions more, which is actually very valuable. I just start vomiting stuff into the universe. So she will want a bit more time to contemplate what she's thinking about and then deliver her opinion. But if you leave me 4 seconds, I'm back in with the next point. And I'm off, let's go off on this tangent, where she's going to want to think a bit more. So she's very good at those, communicating those expectations of.
I think girls are generally a lot better at that than guys anyway. Like we bottle things, we don't, we just keep things. I'm guilty of that for sure.
I think as they get more mature, they can get better at it. Yeah. But again, age doesn't always equal maturity.
I'm really glad you said that, because I've been with my wife, now wife, for a long time. We met her at school. We met when we were 15, proper childhood sweetheart stuff.
That's so rare.
And we've grown together. And people ask me sometimes, they say, what's the secret? And I always like to give a bit of a playful answer. I go, I've been with 3 or 4 different people since I've been with Amy. That is true. She's changed completely. Now, this is my favourite iteration by far. Amy as a mum is my favourite, because you can see
Amy 3.0.
when she's hugging Ted and giving him some attention. It's a little bit like she's giving me attention.
Yeah.
It's really nice to sort of watch, and I'm like, this is the best.
But you have to, I always say, if you treat it like you did in the beginning, there'll never be an end. And what I mean by that is you have to be interested in falling in love with this next version of Amy, this next version of Hillary, because she's not the same person she was 5 years ago, especially as now you've got children. One day, Ted will be 18. Yeah? Have you just only got one child?
Yeah.
Do you want another one?
Potentially.
I've got 3. Do you want one of them? I can bring a selection. Kids in his car right now. This one we've got. No, yeah. He will at some point want to go off and live his own life, which he should. I always said to my ex-wife, like, the goal is to create an independent human being.
Yeah.
The goal is not to have a 40-year-old adult living with us. Yeah. So when Ted reaches 18, you will enter an entire new relationship because you and Amy will be single. You'll be single people again. You'll be in a relationship with a child that lives over there somewhere. So I need to be interested in this next version of you because she won't be the person you met when you were 15. And she'll have had lots of different life experiences. You'll have been part of them, but she's a different person now. Values have changed, career drive has changed, motivations has changed. And you've got to want to date that person. And you should be cognizant and realize that this is a whole new chapter of life. So let's lean in and be interested in each other and not just make the assumptions of, oh, well, we've been together forever. Of course we're going to be. Maybe not. Because I shouldn't want to be with you forever if you're not continually working on yourself. We said it on the WhatsApp before. It's like, I always say to Hillary, you look after you for me and I'll look after me for you. Because I've said to you, I want to give my everything to you and I want you to be my person. Everything I am, I give to you. You know, if we get married one day, everything I am, I give to you. What are you giving me? If what you're giving me is something you don't look after, you're not invested in, you're not developing, then what are you giving me, really? You know, you said you wanted to be the best version of you for me. Is this the best version of you? Like, you should constantly be working. I want Hillary to fancy me forever. I don't want her to have to apologise for me and go, well, I know he's a bit out of shape and he doesn't really push himself and he's actually quite rude, you know, and he's not really very financially stable, but I love him. Yeah, that's Stockholm Syndrome. She's fallen in love with her captor. We've got an investment bias. I've been with Amy since I was 15, so I've got to work on it. We've got so much time in the thing together. We can't let it fail now. Yep. Yeah. Well, unless you're both working on that, then what are we doing? There's a deficit here. You're investing a lot, or she's investing a lot, and you're no longer doing it. Do you know what I mean? If Amy's investing a lot in your child, in your family, but you're off just doing business stuff, and I've been there and I'm still doing it now. I'm here right now. I'm not with my daughter right now. She's on her holidays. She's not at school. Yeah, she's with my ex-wife. I'm not with her. Now, it's not one of my days, but still, go be with her if I wanted to be. So I'm choosing to do this. But unless you're investing that time in the relationship, you can't just assume, oh, they'll let me get away with it. And I'm sure in a few years' time, when I've reached my business goals, you've already achieved many of the things that you said were going to make you happy.
Yeah.
But they're still evolving.
And they're never as good as when you get there either. You know, when you reach those things, you expect. I think a lot of people,
we like the chase.
We like the chase. I think a lot of business people, especially, will say that. They might not say it out loud, but I think deep down they think that certain monetary things will make them happier. It will kind of satisfy that need. But
I'll be happy when.
Exactly, and it's the reason why
when I get 10k, when I go 100k, when I get this house.
But it never. The goalposts always move, and you evolve your lifestyle and everything around you to suit your circumstances. And it's the same reason why a lot of high-end business people in, like, you know, Silicon Valley and whatever, they create these huge companies, sell them for millions and millions, and then they get really unhappy all of a sudden because it wasn't the destination, it was the journey. And I think you mentioned that with your daughter when you were going travelling for 6 hours to go somewhere for a short period of time. It wasn't the destination, it was the journey of going there. It was the adventure, yeah. And like, we're on this adventure now. Like, we're on this adventure of, you know, building a podcast, kind of managing businesses, building a family. It's not the destination, it's that journey, and that's something that I constantly have to remind myself.
Because there is no destination.
Yeah.
You know, you have it with Olympians and astronauts as a typical one, like post-Olympian depression, post-astronaut depression. They've been and seen the world, literally the world, from space. Now I'm going to come back. What's next? What's next? You know, there's the old trope and meme. I think they've done it on what's the scientist TV series? Big Bang Theory.
Okay.
Where Buzz Aldrin turns up at people's houses and he's there for Halloween and they go, oh, trick or treat, and he's like, let me tell you about when I went to the moon. And they're like, just give me some sweets. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Are you going to be the person that keeps talking about, oh, I was on SAS Who Dares Wins once. I won the British Firefighter Challenge. I was a professional strongman. No one cares. No one cares. What are you doing now? Do you know what I mean? Because there's one point where reaching the thing you think will be we're sat in a beautiful home now. This is your beautiful home. Yeah? Is this your forever home?
No.
Why?
We potentially...
Didn't you love it when you moved in?
We absolutely loved
nice.
it, yeah.
It's 3 floors.
Yeah.
Nice porch outside. Yeah. Do you know what happens after you move into the perfect house? Just becomes the place you live.
Yeah. Do you know what? We interviewed Nor recently, and she's got an amazing, phenomenal house. One of the best roads in Sheffield. Phenomenal. I'm going to say multi-million-pound house. It's not any less than that, is it? But yeah, she admitted the same thing. When they built it, it was awesome, but now it's just the home. It's just where they live. And
just extra rooms and stuff.
Yeah.
Things to maintain.
Yeah.
Oh God, they've got to paint that. The bloody, the door's got a bit of an issue with it, and fancy a bit more room and space. The house I'm in the process of selling, beautiful house, 5-bedroom. It's got 2 extensions on the side of it, big double detached garage with a full gym in it.
Wow.
It's got a playroom. It's got a study. It's got hate it. It's just a cannonball that's tied around me. That is just the place I used to live. And that's not down to the fact that I got a divorce or anything like that.
So it's your old family home, was it?
Yes, it's my old family home. And it's a lovely home. But the same way that I've had really nice Gucci cars, and I've had the matte black Land Rover, and I've had 5 or 6 motorbikes, and I've had the gym business and the cleaning business, and I had the caravan business, and I had the pizza business. You do the thing, and then you go, I want to do something else now.
Yeah.
I always think of it like Lego blocks. Like, I've got my life is a load of Lego blocks, and I can only use the Lego blocks at any one time for the things I've got. And then you make it, and you're like, well, if I want to go and sit in that chair, I need to get up out of this chair. I can't stay here and be there at the same time. I've only got 2 hands. If I'm holding these 2 things and I want to pick that up, I've got to put one of them down. So I'm like, you've done this thing for a period of time now, but if you're ever going to do the other stuff you say you want to do, what are you going to stop doing? What are you going to stop? You're going to spend less time with your family? Yeah, you're going to stop coaching people so you can start managing and training PT clients? Because you can't do it all. You can have everything you want at different periods of life, but you can't have it all right now, and you can't have it all forever. You're going to have to stop doing something. And that was something for me that really helped closing down a business or stopping doing that. Because people go, oh my God, but you've got like 600, I think we had 600 online clients at one point in time, all paying sort of £20 a month. I was like, wow, this is turnover loads and loads of money. And when I closed it down, income dropped by like 40k for the year, but it was a self-created prison. And I found this with the gyms, and it was something I definitely wanted to ask you both about, is the beauty of being an independent coach, personal trainer, whatever, is fantastic. But you are also the single point of failure. You've created a self-created prison. If you don't show up and respond to those messages, okay, you've had a week off, but unless you go back and do it, you actually don't have very much freedom. You kind of do in one version, but you also don't in another version. If you stop tomorrow, cash flow is going to really, really ramp down or cease to a goddamn halt, isn't it? So it's a self-created prison. And also that's where the podcast is an interesting one, because your podcast, Fit Dad's podcast, awesome, but it is also a fantastic marketing tool. People go, oh God, those 2 people are interesting. Ryan said this interesting. Brad said that. I want to go and find out more. Maybe they could help me with my thing. That's what I really struggled with the Firefighters Podcast, because it doesn't sell anything. We don't coach people out to be a firefighter. I don't own a fire service. And also, people have said to us, and you guys are more than welcome to do it if you want, I've won the British Firefighter Challenge and the toughest firefighter alive. I've won all these fitness competitions. I don't want to coach people. We spoke about Bronte. Total transparency, Bronte, love you. She messaged me, she was like, have you got a bit of a training program for the Brit? No. But you've won it. I'm not interested in doing that. Could we do it? Yeah. Could we make some money doing it? Yeah, 100%. I don't want to do it because it just doesn't fill me up. It would be a transactional money grab. Yeah. I don't want to do that. So this thing makes no sense because it is just a passion project for me. And then over the 4 years that we've done it in 500 episodes deep, we've started getting partners and we have a Patreon and people sign up to it and it supports itself that way. But it is such a long curve before you're ever going to see anything out of it. It's a lifestyle business. I get to go to Germany with it. I went to Saudi Arabia earlier this year. But your side of it makes sense so long as you continue to do personal training or coaching. So that is a tough circle to square in your head, isn't it?
Yeah, I think I don't disagree with the fact that we are kind of squeezed in, I guess, to a certain point where, with what I do, if I stop working tomorrow, I could potentially hire another coach to take over. But the profits would kind of be affected because they're bought into me, they're bought into our fight, they're bought into Ryan Dutton. They're not bought into another coach who's been brought in.
Yeah,
it's been a bit of an issue in the past with hiring other coaches and having them work here.
But that's how the body coach works. That's how James Smith's
I get
PT
that.
Academy or whatever works. Like I think with what's his name, the body coach, Joe Wicks.
Yeah.
When they get to every 300 new clients, they hire another coach to manage the platform, and they've got God knows how many hundreds of coaches just managing on the platform for them. Nobody's actually getting a goddamn program from Joe Wicks.
Yeah.
I don't think he knows very much.
Yeah.
And he's far more successful than me. Bow down and praise him, everything. But he's just surrounded himself with some fantastic people. Someone that runs a great program, someone that does some great coding, someone that can make a great recipe book.
Yep.
He doesn't know that himself.
Yeah.
He doesn't know that stuff. He just surround himself with. So you could do that. You could create that freedom, but like you say, you're going to have to sacrifice a bit of the income to grow.
I say it's been an issue, but it's not really. It's just with me being the face of the business, sometimes people will kind of want that rather than something else. But it's again just managing
because they are buying into you.
Yeah, of course.
It's super, super tough.
Yeah.
I went to an event recently with a guy called Paul Mort, who was one of the original boot camp king.
Original email marketer.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
Paul Moore is great.
He's great. Yeah. Read. I think he's just got a new one coming out as well.
Yeah.
So
I first learned of him. Do you know who Dan Meredith is?
Yes.
Yeah. I first learned of Paul through Dan Meredith.
Nice.
And James Smith was one of Paul Moore's clients as well.
Yeah.
There's so many interconnections.
I think he said he's got a James Smith clause in his contract now. So if anyone gets cancelled, he's like, I don't know you. That's my James Smith clause.
But this is a really interesting behind the scenes look, because most people won't know Paul Moore is. Most people won't know who Dan Meredith is. These people are gods.
To sit in a room with Paul and his energy for 2 days blew my head off. And he said, and one of the key things that he said to me is, if you have a business but you don't have an assistant, you have a job, not a business. And that stung. He was just like, if anyone's looking around the room now, sort of saying, I just need to take this call, it's like, you've got a job. You've not got a business.
You've got a job.
And that stung a lot of people. They were like, you motherfucker.
I'm an entrepreneur. No, you're not. You've got a job.
Yeah. And obviously Paul's a really amazing at what he does, and he presents all his flaws.
Entrepreneur.
And he's
so successful.
And he's fantastic. And I like the fact that he's so different to me and my approach. I'm very calm, very measured. He's so hectic. Yeah.
Machine gun.
He's just a machine gun of
Dan
information.
Meredith's the same. Do you know what I mean? But Dan, again, so what's his Coffee with Dan, isn't it? Is his I've been on calls with Dan. I actually met Dan at Loughborough University, because I didn't even know Dan went there once upon a time. And he did his, because he started off as a PT, didn't he? And he built his own gym, and then he went into lots of nightclub stuff, and then he went into copywriting, the same as Paul Moore, the journey that he made, because he knew he had to pick up all these additional skills. Paul's got a fantastic approach now where he knows he's more than just the thing he does. If you stripped everything, if he got canned tomorrow for bloody blackmail, or he did some sort of fraud or whatever, he knows he would be absolutely fine, because all of the skills he has, and Dan Meredith's the same, all of the skills that they have, you could plug them into any business and they would be such a massive asset. Dan says it where he completes the quote that most people get wrong. Jack of all trades is a master of none, but better by far than a master of one. One person that just does one thing very, very well, they're never going to have the breadth of skill set to be an entrepreneur or be able to apply their skills to many, many different things. If you are just narrow and deep in one specific thing, like people look at this and they'll just think, oh, you two just know a lot about fitness. That's not what you're doing here. The setup and the cameras and the thing you've had to learn yourself, audio stuff and the online platforms that you're on, and software and marketing and payment schemes and all this sort of stuff. The fitness thing, it's kind of built around that, but that is like that's floor one of the skyscraper. If you just want to mess around on floor one, then go and work for Everyone Active, or go and work for PT Gym, and you just be on the floor client, just doing transactional count to 10 for someone. Okay, 5 more reps, then we're going to move on to the Smith machine. That is not your way. That's not scalable.
That reminds me of another misquoted thing, which is the customer is always right. But the end of that is in matters of taste.
Yes.
That is true. For some reason, somebody just decided to drop the last bit. So it's now broadcast out there that the customer is always right. They're not. They're right in matters of taste. Somebody could go out for a meal.
Yeah.
I might love it. They might not.
Customer wants to be led.
You're both right.
Yeah, because when you say the customer's always right, customer doesn't know what they want. Customer knows the destination, i.e. in like the simplistic fitness. I want to be, like I always used to say to clients, I want to lose some weight. Okay, you've lost a pound, fuck off. Do you know what I mean? No, what do you want? So I want to lose 3 stone. I say, okay, if you lost 3 stone and you still looked exactly the same as you look now, would you be happy? Well, no, Pete, actually, I want to look better. Okay, so what you actually mean is you want to look different and be able to physically perform. So the physical manifestation of that might be that you also lose fat, but actually if we're using weight, you said I want to lose weight. Weight is just your relationship to the earth. That's how you step on the scales and how much you weigh, because we all the argument of muscle weighs more than fat. And I say, okay, well, what's a healthy weight then? And they say, I don't know, about 12 stone. Okay, I'm 18.5 stone. Am I fit? And they go, well, yeah, I mean, you're fit, but that's different. How is it different? Stop talking about weight. That is just your relationship to the earth. What you want to be is physically fit, yeah? And you want to be strong, you want to be independent, you want to be able to play with your kids, and you want to still be able to climb mountains when you're 60. That's a whole different thing to, I want to lose weight. That is just a very narrow, so we say the customer's always right. The customer says they want to lose weight. No, they don't. That's what they think they want, because they've been taught Weight Watchers. Weight Watchers is a massive multi-billion-pound probably organisation. It's about weight. And you could do that. I could just don't drink water for 3 weeks. You're going to lose loads of weight. You'll eventually get very poorly, but for the summer bod and for your relationship with the thing, you get to stand on the scales and go, hey, 2 pounds, give me a badge. Right, you're not actually getting the thing that you think you're getting, though, because that's just one way of looking at it, isn't it? But I love that. I've not heard the extended quote of it, to be fair.